what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. This is Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks right here on the Mayo Media Network. Thanks, as always, for taking the time to hang out. I am Chris Meaney, and today we are going to preview the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Get excited, people. We're going to be talking some Stanley Cup Playoffs here today on this episode with no better guy, Cam Stewart. That's right. We are back together to preview every single series. We'll break them all down, and we will talk about them individually, as well as some Stanley Cup future odds for you as well. And good news, this show will continue throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs as well. So make sure you are keeping an eye on Prize Picks. Follow the link inside the description of this video for the 100% first deposit match of up to $100 using that promo code. So make sure you check out that link. And as I mentioned, we will be talking to you guys throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. Same sort of deal, giving some picks and some props. You know, we will be attacking the shop props when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, as well as some picks and some parlays throughout. Super excited to bring in Cam Stewart. What's going on, man?
Meaney, hockey! I remember how cool he is. Hey, the only thing that's hotter than my wife is a good hockey game. I love hockey more than life itself. We got the playoffs. Everything's going to be rocking and rolling, Meaney. Can't wait. I'm very excited. Actually, I'll give some of the guys in the media. Me and Gabe were talking about Craig Bisley. Leafs are going to sweep the Habs. I kind of enjoyed, usually, they come out, I really don't know who's going to win. It's going to be kind of a tough series. Go either way. It's nice to see, Meaney. I must get the Canadians some bulletin board material, but we'll see what happens. And, hey, man, I can't wait. I think, in the East, it's kind of interesting. I'm looking at most of the favorites, but I'm telling you, everyone thinks Vegas and Colorado are just going to roll. I'm not so sure. There could be a big upset. I think we're going to have some great hockey, buddy. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. We're definitely going to have some good hockey. I think that's the toughest division actually to call, even though it is Colorado and Vegas. We've been talking about them all year. I've had futures on them since day one. Had a future over at FTN before offseason really hit for the Avs. I thought that they would add during the offseason. That's exactly what they did. They brought in Taves, they brought in Saad. So I got them at a decent price at 12-1. And as of today, they are Stanley Cup favorites at, I believe, 5-1.
5. Yep. Oh, 5. Yep.
5-1. So they are Cup favorites. This is the only team. I mean, we're going to talk to you guys here. We're recording on a Thursday. We don't know the matchup yet, but we can pretty much bank on it. The Avs are playing the Kings here this evening. They're minus 450 favorites or something silly like that. They banked them last night 6-0. So if they win this evening, they lock down not only number one spot in the West, but President's Trophy for them because they hold the tiebreaker against Vegas. They have 4 more wins in regulation than the Golden Knights. Yeah, I mean, am I surprised to hear you say that TSN, the Toronto Sports Network, loves the Leafs? Are you kidding me with that nonsense? It's every single year with it. Oh, they're playing Boston again. Oh, this is the time they'll beat Boston. The whole panel last time they were in the playoffs had them against the Blue Jackets, and that didn't work out well. The year before that, they had them against the Bruins. I like the Leafs to win the series, but let's settle down, Craig.
On the sweep. I agree. Hey, Meaney, me and Matt Best, we're like regular Leaf guys, Leaf fans, they can do no wrong, right? I'm a bad guy. I bet on the Ottawa Senators last night because, unfortunately, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment ain't paying my damn mortgage when I'm at the bank today getting negotiating and groveling. Please, could you help me lower the percentage? I'm a good customer. You know what I mean? So I'm doing all that stuff. I will bet, I bet against these guys this year. Here's the deal. They are a much better team. They've owned them. But to say you're going to sweep, I got to believe Montreal can get at least one win. I'm thinking 5, maybe 6, but not 4. They're not sweeping them.
Right. We'll get into that series in a little bit, my thoughts. But the Canadians are going to come in at full health, which is something that they haven't been healthy over this run. And they played a ridiculous 25 games over the last 43 days.
Good
that's
point.
Just unheard of. So some time off will definitely do that team wonders. But yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. And, yes, I don't want to call anybody out, but yesterday on this show, we were all talking about the Sens, and then we came to an agreement that we weren't going to put our hard-earned dollars on the Sens. It was a big mistake because they won again last night as
You
underdogs.
got to bet on the Senators at that pricing. The Leafs are already in the playoff. Like, how do you not bet the Senators? I'm ashamed of you two turkeys. You should have me on the show. I know my dog sometimes gets shot, but that was a nice, lively pooch.
Matt, you guys talked me out of it.
Don't bring me into this. Leave me alone.
Come on.
Man, as soon as that game started, the tempo and pace of that game, I was like, we messed up here. That wasn't a good call.
My only thing that I'll say about that game is, and again, with the Leafs playing tomorrow night, we'll have this single video for you. I'll ride solo talking about the Leafs and the Jets. Really not a whole lot on the line, but there is one thing, and maybe you're just looking too far ahead. And I wonder if just Leafs Nation has that on their mind too. Just the way everything is set up. If the Leafs were to come out of the North and they come out of the North at 77 points, they're the 4th seed.
Yep.
Unless, the Bruins or the Islanders come out. And that could mean a potential date in the 3rd round with Vegas and Colorado. Maybe that's looking ahead too much. Lots of things could certainly happen. The Islanders could come out and then they're the 4th seed, and then Toronto is not the 4th seed and they have to play Carolina, for example, or Tampa or Florida. But if I were the Leafs, I'd be looking for at least one more point, just avoiding Colorado and Vegas if you can, even though we're talking about those two teams still in tough in the 1st round and 2nd round in their respective divisions. Okay, so let's get after it.
Where do you want to start, buddy?
We were turkeys.
What series? Yeah. I can't
believe the Leafs.
I'll say one thing. I said a lot of stupid stuff on the Friday show, but I'm consistent with my dogs. I'll tell you, like, Ottawa's been a wicked bet down the stretch. Like, if you blindly bet Ottawa, like you're collecting envelopes or just breaking your book online. I don't know what you're doing, but I can tell you one thing. You got a hell of a lot more money because they've been a great underdog.
The 6th most points in the NHL since the trade deadline, which was April 12th. So they are hot. Unfortunately, their season is over, but maybe we're talking about them this time next year about playoffs. So let's start in the East. Let's start there with the Islanders and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Pens are favored here to win this series, -138. It opened up it's now currently -156. This is already a bet that's been made over at ftnbets.com. You and I had talked at length about the Islanders when they made those moves at the deadline, picking up Travis Zajac, Kyle Palmieri. This team is just struggling to score goals. And since actually just all year, they've been one of the better teams. 1.97 goals against per 60 is the 2nd best mark in the league. But over the past 6 weeks, they're a bottom 3 team in the NHL at just generating offense and scoring goals at 5-5. The Pens took 6 of 8 in this series. They would scored them 26-18. They were a perfect 4-0 at home against the Islanders. New York had won the first game in this matchup, but then they went on to lose 4 straight and 6 of the final 7. The Pens, since the deadline, really solid, man. And they only made really one move, Jeff Carter. But they played most of the second half without Evgeny Malkin. I really like where this Pittsburgh team is at, man. I think Carter has obviously some Stanley Cup experience. He's been to the finals numerous times. With the Kings, he's won a couple cups. And then with the Flyers, he was part of that squad too, I believe, against the Blackhawks. But nonetheless, this guy has got a lot of playoff experience, and just to insert him on the 3rd line, Malkin is back. Say what you want about Sid the Kid and the experience, obviously, that he has. It's hard for me to not like Pittsburgh. In fact, they are, I think, my favorite bet.
Yeah. You know what, Meaney? We're reading each other's mail, and you know me, I first look for dogs. That's what I do. Here, boy. I'm out there trying to find one. Sorry, Sparky's gone. He's down by the river rolling in dead salmon. There's no more dog. He's left, and I can't get him back. The Islanders can't score. The goaltending still, I think it's good. The defense, they play that system, but it's just not good enough. It is not good enough. Jeff Carter has been the best trade acquisition that we talked about. He's fit in like a glove with that Pittsburgh team. A little bit of steam that I don't like. We bet it a little bit earlier, Meaney. I think it was like $1.38. I'm seeing like $1.50 around that mark right now. So people are betting Pittsburgh. I'd rather be on the other side there, but I'm with you. The Pittsburgh Penguins are a better team than the Islanders. Unless like Jari and the goaltending, these guys absolutely suck and gag and freak out. I don't think there's a way that the Islanders can win. They've been a good story, but this is years too. Remember revenge when the Islanders swept them? Pittsburgh has remembers these things that the Islanders have done to them. There's a lot of factors with Pittsburgh. They're a better team. Revenge from playoff pass. Give me the Penguins, man. I think they get it done. I'm with you.
I was thinking about that series as well, and that was a pretty big shock in the hockey world. Not just the Islanders beating the Pens, but sweeping them, right? And just taking care of business pretty easily in that series. no fans in the games or just limited capacity is something to consider as well. With these home ice teams, like some teams are just really good at home, and the Islanders, I think, are one of those teams. I feel like, at Nassau, they're just a team that's like, when that place is rocking and packed,
Yes,
it is a tough building to go in and get a victory.
it is.
Yeah, it is super tough. Matt, do you have a feel on Pittsburgh? Is it a clean sweep here with the Pens? Are we overlooking the Islanders and looking into too much of their struggles over the past 6 weeks of the season?
This team has just looked completely different without Anders Lee in the lineup. Semyon Varlamov can only carry you so far, but you need some sort of offense, right, fellas? I mean, it just feels like the Penguins and the Islanders are complete polar opposites since the trade deadline. The Penguins have just looked hot fire, and the Islanders have looked meh. If they didn't have such a hot start, this team would be kind of trying to claw their way into the playoffs. It's a clean sweep. I'm going to keep track of all of our picks, and so after round 1, we will see how we all do.
Nice.
All right. Again, just looking at this Islanders team over the past 2 months, Cam, they just can't score.
They can't score, and it's not going to be good enough. And the thing about Pittsburgh is, Meaney, I got to be honest with you, with their patchwork defense, they've been a lot better than I thought. They've actually, tidied up their game. And I said it's not just Carter, like all the guys in their team. I watch Pittsburgh games, and their offense is almost unstoppable with all these guys. You said it. Malkin's coming back. He's inspired. Carter was the perfect move. It went way under the trade deadline, like under the radar. Let's give old Berkey and crew Hextall a lot of credit here. Like these guys came in from the hockey. Oh, look at these old guys. What are they going to do? Yeah, you know what? They know something. They've been around the game for a while. And Carter was the perfect fit. Like I can't think of a better player. When I watch him play, I love the guy's game, Meaney. I'm telling you, like Pittsburgh's a scary team, not just in this series, moving forward.
Yeah, there's no question they are. And again, that Carter move, let's just hammer this point home again. So he played 40 games with the Kings. He scored 8 goals and had 19 points. He was a -6. In 14 games with the Pens, he has 1 more goal, 9 and 11 points. So 8 fewer points and it's 26 fewer games.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a +9. He's averaging the same amount of ice time. Again, just the experience getting away from Los Angeles it'll just provide a spark for some of these guys. I mean, it's going to be a trend that we talk about, I think, on this show with some of these teams who made some deadline moves.
Yep.
So we'll move on from this from a shot prop standpoint. I'm going to be looking at guys like Crosby for sure. There's been some games where you play the Sabres and you play the Devils, and maybe the motivation is not there. He's becoming a pass first guy. I've seen numerous games where he's passed instead of shot where he could have. It's playoff time now. Like that stuff is just out the window. So there's no one I could really ever feel comfortable taking on the Islanders without Anders Lee in there that Matt alluded to. So Crosby will be one of my go-tos when it comes to shot props. And I may think about Jeff Carter in the DFS world as well. So, okay, let's move on from that one, but let's stick inside the East. So we're both on the Pens. Now we got the Bruins here. So another team that just really took off at right around the trade deadline when they picked up Taylor Hall, which seems like a steal right now, thinking about the move. So Boston -136, the Caps +110. This line has moved slightly, -138, talking to you guys here on a Thursday afternoon, and +112 for the Caps. So the series is split 4-2-2 for Boston, a couple overtime victories for the Caps, but 4-4, I look at it as a split. They outscored Washington 26-24 in the series. And there was a moment where it all kind of turned for the Bruins. There was an 8-1 victory for the Capitals on April 11th. In that moment where Boston got absolutely embarrassed, they went on to win 6 straight and 10 of their next 12. At least 6 goals in 6 of the 8 games in this series. So lots of offense. The last one was a 2-1 victory for Washington, where it was just a bunch of AHL teams out there playing. So I wouldn't look into it too much. But both of these teams, they can score some goals. Overall, the Caps top 4 in the league and the Bruins 13th, but inside the top 7 over the last month and a half. Where do you lean?
This is a tough one, Meaney. This is the one that me and you are like, I'm going back and forth in this one. I'm like, Washington firepower, but I don't like what happened at the end of the year. Oshie got a little bit banged up, and you were talking about Wilson and all these guys. The Russians had their COVID protocol again. I don't know why it's always the same guys. Samsonov, luggage, and his crew. Like, you guys just love to do what you got to do. Remember the last time we were in the hotel room? There's a naked chick in the bedroom. He's like, "Oh no, that substance is sugar." Like, he's got like that. I'm sure the naked chick and you you're plowing sugar. That's what you do in the morning after a party, eh, Kuznetsov? Anyway, the Boston Bruins are a scary team right now, and the one advantage they have is goaltending, a significant advantage. That's the thing, right? Rask, even all these other young guys that they have, is just Boston's got 3 or 4 goaltenders you can roll. I'm not sure if I trust these Capitals goaltenders. Meaning, I lean Bruins. It's scary, though, because I like the way Washington can play a physical game. Boston is still tough, but they're not tough like the old Bruins where they used to bully Toronto around and stuff. Washington has the team that can bully them. This series is very, very difficult. But when I come down and break it all down, it comes down to goaltending. And Boston has better goaltending. I lean Bruins.
Yeah. Me too. I don't know if there's really a whole lot there to add besides looking at just – a smart FTN sub brought this up about the Bruins and maybe just some of the rest that they've had this season with Pastrnak not playing to start the season and Rask missing some time. And then I looked into it, and it was true, at least for that top line. Brad Marchand, 18 minutes this season. Last season, nearly 20 minutes per game. Patrice Bergeron, 18-13. This last season, 19 minutes per game. David Pastrnak, 18-13, 19 minutes per game. So I think the addition of Taylor Hall has just eased those three. In terms of ice time, they haven't had to play them, balls to the wall all the time. And this is another guy like Taylor Hall. Look at these numbers. I mean, 37 games with the Buffalo Sabres, 2 goals and 19 points and minus 21. Averaging 18.41 per game. With the Bruins averaging 3 minutes fewer per game, more productive. 16 games, 8 goals, 14 points, a plus 15.
Unreal.
So 6 more goals, 5 fewer points, and 21 fewer games. Obviously, moving from a team like Buffalo, who they have no idea how to play structured hockey, to a team like Boston, who has a ton of players who can play structured hockey. It has just solidified the second line. Craig Smith, David Krejci has come back to life. He looks like the Krejci of old a few years ago. Rask hasn't played a ton of games. He's been hurt, of course, but now he's back and he looks fresh. I like the Bruins a lot too. This is super tough, man. It is because the Capitals haven't looked at themselves over the past couple of weeks. So Ovechkin hasn't been playing. He's missed some time. He came back in their last game, so it looks like he's going to be good to go. John Carlson was out of the lineup a couple times. They have been flip-flopping. Who the heck is their goalie? Is Kuznetsov going to play? Does it matter? This guy hasn't looked good all year either. And since April 12th, they'll bring up this again with a lot of teams, the trade deadline. 12-4-1, the Boston Bruins, 25 points. It's one behind Vegas over that span. They have been one of the best teams in the league over the last 6 weeks, Cam.
Yeah, Washington could call Vladimir Putin in there. He scored 8 goals in the Russian game there. It basically
it looked like the other team wasn't trying.
Of course they weren't trying, Meaney. They're killed if they're trying. If the goalie makes a save, instead of Gatorade, they put ricin in the bottle, and the guy's dead. He's starfished on the bench. Hey, Boris, what happened? Oh no, Vladimir, why did you do it? Oh yeah. 8 goals, MVP. It's unbelievable. They part the Red Sea for this guy. You can't check him. You can't do anything. You let him score. It's like Kim Jong-un. We talked about. Oh my God. I shot a 34 on a par 72. What I have 17 hole-in-ones. I love these guys. Can't you just say you shot like a 62 and you had a good day? And we're like, maybe he's a good golfer, but no, these guys are too much. Those Putin highlights, that was unbelievable. Anyway, maybe he subs in for Washington. If he does, I'll tell you, I'll be betting on the Capitals because he'll do anything to win. The Bruins might be poisoned and or killed, but I will take Boston because Putin's not there. So let's do this. Go Bruins.
You know who sent me that video originally?
Oh, it's the worst.
It was Drew.
Of course it was.
Yeah, camera 2, Drew. He's like, look how good Putin is. I'm like, what do you mean?
That's what I said to Matt Morency. Morency's like, Putin can skate. I go, no, he can't. He's just sitting there doing nothing. I go, what? They're moving for him. Anyway, I don't know if I trust these guys on the Capitals. They got a taste of Stanley, but I don't know. I got to go with Boston, buddy.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
Tough
Just
series,
the way
though. Very
Yeah,
tough.
it's a very tough series. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think there's going to be a lot of action. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think it goes at least 6.
Yeah,
Like I don't feel like it's going to be a sweep, but
I agree.
that is the deciding factor for me is the goaltending. There just seems to be too many question marks when it comes to Washington's goaltending, and I think we could probably. I mean, we may see both goalies at one point in this series. I think like this will be a fun fantasy. Like from a DFS standpoint, I think there's going to be goals. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wanting to hammer the over in some of these spots as well. I know things tighten up a little bit, Cam, come playoff time, but still, like seems like could be a lot of offense here. Bring in Matty Best. Is it another clean sweep here?
It is another clean sweep because the only thing that the Capitals I had going for them was their third-ranked power play, but the Bruins, the thing they have going for them is their second-ranked penalty kill. To me, that's just one of the deciding factors. You guys nailed the rest. It's a clean sweep.
If the Stanley Cup playoffs were like a party contest, like who could stay up, do the most stuff, and get wasted, the Capitals are a lock, in my opinion, with the guys they got on their team. But it's not. We got to play hockey, so I'll go with the Bruins.
Yeah. The party's over, boys. Let's go.
I love the picture because that's at the chicken. Hey, Jenny, you want to come back and have some fun? He's sitting there. Oh yeah. Don't worry about it. Like these guys are. Ovechkin, Brian Blessing told me basically like that fountain in Vegas was like Stoli. He was just swimming in it for like a couple of months. Like these guys when they won the Stanley Cup. Man, they were. I wish I was at that party. I can tell you that. A lot of fun.
I feel like if they hadn't, I would be looking at them and viewing them a little bit different. Right?
I agree.
I mean, you're running out of time. The window is closing.
Exactly.
But yeah, they're just a couple years removed from winning the cup and absolutely partying their ass off all over the place. But yeah, both of these teams, Matt, to your point, I'm Washington number 3 in power play. Boston has a top 10 power play as well, but the kicker is the Bruins PK, number 2 in the league, even though the Capitals themselves have a top 10 penalty kill. Okay, so let's move on. I know everyone's excited to talk about the Preds, one person in particular on this show. So Nashville, big dogs here, plus 200, Carolina minus 245. So Carolina won 6 of 8. They outscored them 24-17. They won the first 6 games in this series, outscoring them 23-9. Nashville took the 2 wins here recently over the past week when it didn't matter for the Hurricanes, and in one game they rested absolutely everybody on defense and just let Peter Mrazek hang to dry. A 3-1 victory and a 5-0 victory. So Nashville's been playing playoff hockey now for a while. We can give them that. 6 or fewer goals in all 8 games, 5 or fewer in 5 games. I think this is going to be a tight series from an offensive standpoint. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals, but it's just almost impossible for me to sit here and make a case for the Preds. Maybe Matty can, but we'll let you go first, Cam. What do you think?
I can't make a case for the Preds. I think they were great down the stretch. I really respect what Saros did. His run, his Tootsie Roll basically got them into the playoffs when he was absolutely a man possessed weeks ago. I love Pekka Rinne too. They were great down the stretch. And remember, even they beat Carolina in those games. This is a whole different animal. The Carolina Hurricanes, to me, Meaney, I think I got 38-1 or 40 at the start of the year. I love that ticket right now. No, that was like right at the start of the year. Me and Blessing did a show. That was the bet we did. We go, Carolina's going to be our horse that we're attaching ourselves to, and I still love it. I think they murder these guys. I don't think the games are blowouts, but I see a lot of 3-1 type of games, just Carolina better than them. I see Nashville winning 1 game at most in this series. I'm going to take Carolina, and if you find a book that can parlay them, that'll be the big part of my parlay. And I'll also take them on the series handicap, Chris, minus 1.5. I don't think I'd be shocked if Nashville can win a couple games in this series. I think they get 1. I think Carolina murders these guys and takes them out to the woodshed. This is a very dangerous team that could actually go all the way to the cup.
Yeah, you and I have been on the same page when it comes to the Hurricanes all year. I wish I had that ticket that you have. My goodness, that is amazing. I got 14-1 midway through the season.
Still good.
On them at 4-1 to win the division. I've seen some screenshots from some viewers and some listeners on this show with that ticket. Congratulations, that is amazing. And I'd be all in on them again. I'd be taking Carolina for playoff pools. If you're just picking guys. I don't know if you're in a box pool or you're in a single pool where just one guy's off the board and that's it. Carolina, I want to say that they're still a sleeper team because everyone will be running to the Leafs and to Vegas and Colorado and to Toronto. I said Toronto twice, and Edmonton, all those teams, right, with offense. Boston, Pittsburgh. They'll be running to those teams, I think, first, as opposed to an Aho, a Svechnikov, a Teuvo Teravainen, who's healthy into the lineup on that top line, scoring goals. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this Hurricanes team. They didn't have to do anything in the deadline because they're just loaded, right? I mean, Jordan Staal is just an unbelievable third line center, plays in all situations. Vincent Trocheck was a great ad for them last year. Carolina, 1.79 goals against at 5.5 per 60. It's the number one mark in the league. The number 3 mark in the league is Nashville at 2. So that's why I think it's going to be low scoring. But at the same time, the Preds can't score themselves. Like, they've scored lately, but they're going to be in so much trouble when Carolina, if they can get 3 goals in a game. It's going to be really, really tough. Let's bring in Maddie. Let's break down these Preds.
Yeah, Mr. Pred.
So here's the thing about the Nashville Predators, and here's the thing about a thing called recency bias. I've listened to a lot of Nashville talk radio. I've listened to a lot of Nashville podcasts, and the amount of Nashville can sweep Carolina takes I've heard is absolutely insane. That it's not a thing.
These people should lose their license. What?
People, no. Okay, no.
Are these guys
Nashville,
watching hockey?
Nashville podcasts have been saying it. Nashville Sports Radio has been looking at it very evenly. So you look at the game. People were looking at the games, the 2 games to end the season for Nashville against Carolina, as a playoff preview. One, completely wrong. Don't do that. Carolina in that first game on Saturday, when they lost 3-1, looked super slow because they didn't care and didn't want to get injured. And then you saw them on the 10th, and I mean, every storyline was going Nashville's way. It's probably Pekka Rinne's last start at home ever in his career because the guy's probably retiring. And 2, Carolina played Jake Gardiner as their second highest average time on ice defenseman. So you show me a D-core that's successful with that, and I'll buy 17 lottery tickets with whatever you tell me. Let's not forget that this Nashville Predators team lost to the Columbus Blue Jackets on Wednesday the 5th. Let's not forget about that. You can't look at the 8th and the 10th for the Nashville Predators and go, this is how we're going to play them. And the Predators also have another problem. When your 4th line is the line that everyone is talking about and everyone's happy about, that's all fine and dandy in the regular season, but going into the playoffs, that's a problem. You should be excited about your scoring. You should be excited about your defense, not your 4th line that's given your team an identity. Yeah, having an identity is cool. Scoring and winning games is also cool. Give me Carolina in 5. I think Nashville wins 1 game because I think UC Saros has 1 game left to stand on his head. We were asked a question on Lockdown Predators. It's like, what's one thing from this playoff series?
Lockdown Predators.
Yeah.
It sounds like Dateline NBC.
Yeah,
Hi, I'm Chris Hansen. Why? Did you know she was 13? Why are you carrying lube and handcuffs in your bag? Well, we were just friends online.
It needs...
what's it called? Predator what?
Locked on Predators. Locked on Predators.
Is that not the best?
Yes.
It's fucking hilarious. I didn't choose the name of it. It's part of the Locked On Network. But
Gabe
on the show...
Gabe calls them the Nashville Woody Allens. I go, what? The Predators. Yes, the Woody Allen. You like those guys? That's Predator Lockdown.
But we were asked on Locked On Predators about what's one thing
I'm sorry. That is. Oh God, I can't even finish.
Okay. So we were.
Can you muster that sentence together to finish, please? We need to hear more about the Lockdown Predators.
So on Locked On Predators, we were asked a question about what wouldn't surprise you in this playoff series, and my answer was simple. It was UC Saros just regressing and going back to normal form. I think Saros can be like a top 12, top 13 goaltender, but I don't think he's a top 3 goalie in the league. I don't think he's what we've been seeing. I mean, it's not to poo-poo on his skills. It's look at the workload he's been put under. I mean, Pekka Rinne didn't start a game prior until his swan song on the 10th since early March. That's so much on Saros' shoulders. Carolina's fast. Carolina's quick. They have snipers all over. Carolina in 5 for me.
Oh man, that was good. I was crying there for a little bit. I had some tears running down my face. And only thing to add there about that is just the special teams. Not only does Carolina, they've been one of the better 5-on-5 teams for years. They own the puck. I think the only issue that I've ever had with them over the past couple of years is goaltending. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like I brought this up, Cam, last week, like a Martin Gerber thing, and it's lit up in the first 2 games, and then Cam Ward comes in and takes him all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, a rookie that year. And if it's the same sort of deal, like Mrazek is that guy, and if there's any struggles, I think they turned to Nedeljkovic, who has been one of the better goalies in the league over the past couple of months, a rookie as well. But also, just to add, Carolina, second best power play, third best PK. Nashville's just brutal on special teams, 29th penalty kill and 24th power play. You don't see a ton of power plays in the playoffs. Sometimes the refs just keep the whistles in the pockets, and there's not a lot of the special teams. But when it comes down to it, they're a better 5-on-5 team, and they're better special teams all around. And so maybe the one lean is goaltending. But enough about the Preds. Man, that was good. That was classic. All these Carolina guys for shot props, we'll talk about them throughout, but Svechnikov, Aho, Trocheck, Natchez, they're all going to be absolutely in play for me on the other side. I think Philip Forsberg is that one Pred that I can get behind. Okay, so sticking inside this division, this one is really, really tough for me to call. This is a very, very entertaining series. The first time Tampa and Florida have ever played each other in the playoffs. So the Bolts open up at -140. They're now -146. As of today, Kucherov and Stamkos are practicing on the first power play unit with Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, and a healthy Victor Hedman. The Panthers had opened up at +118 there, so they're +120. The Panthers won this series 5-3. They had scored them 31-24. The over hit in 5 of the 8 games, at least 5 goals in 7 of the 8. Both teams inside the top 10 when it comes to offense and scoring goals. Florida won the last 3 games in this series, including the last 2 recently when none of it really mattered. There was a battle there in the first game for home ice. Florida won that one 5-1. And then they won 4-0 the other night against a shorthanded Tampa team. It's tough for me to pick against the Bolts, man. Like, they're just going to insert Kucherov into this lineup, but Cam hasn't played all year.
Exactly. And this is it, Meaney. It's our first
baby.
dog. It's the only one. I'm with the Stanley C. Panther. I like Stanley C. Panther. Unlike USJ Sharky, who's cost me so many parts. I can't even tell you what the Sharks did to me at the end of the year, meaning how many 6 out of 7s. I don't even know why I still take that. Anyway, we can't talk about these guys anymore. My blood pressure is just going to boil. But Stanley C. Panther is a friend of the program. I like this team. They've been fantastic. I believe in them. The net minding, the goaltending could be a little bit questionable, but think about the additions too, getting Bennett from Calgary. There was a lot of good that they did under the radar and good. I believe in Florida. I'm a big Frank Vetrano guy. If you're looking for a big underdog guy, like a playoff type player that's just going to absolutely steal a game or get a big goal, he's my guy. They're not afraid of Tampa Bay. As you said about Hedman, Meaney, he's going to have surgery after the season's over. I'm not sure if he is totally 100%. If Florida can really do their thing, smash this guy. I know it's hard to do, but make them pay the price. You got to play a little bit of a physical game, Tampa style. Just hurt these guys, finish your checks. I think we can win this game. I think it's going the distance, and I'll take the +120. It's a little bit of a leap of faith, but I think this one is a straight up pick, so I'm going to take the dog. Give me the Florida Panthers, mean cats.
Man, dude, I'm with you. There's no question that Hedman is not 100% healthy. Stamkos is not going to be 100% healthy. And Kucherov, what kind of game shape is this guy going to be in? Yeah, he's one of the best players in the NHL when he's playing. He's going to be able to contribute, especially on the power play. But you're right. Florida is not afraid of this team. And I thought they would roll over when they lost Ekblad, but they didn't. They actually kind of came together a little bit more. And it was nice to see. And there's something to be said about Joel Quenneville too and his system. I know there's been a lot of talk. It takes some time for some of these guys. Like the Panthers were brutal last year in year 1 with Coach Q. And this year they've bought into the system. They've been awesome. Sam Bennett is another guy since the trade deadline. 38 games with the Flames, 4 goals, 12 points, a -14, average 13 minutes per game. Couldn't muster more than 13 minutes per game on that brutal Calgary team. Then he comes into Florida where they're loaded with offense and he steps into a top 6 role. He's got 6 goals and 15 points in 10 games.
Amazing.
With the Panthers, 39 shots. He's been plus money on the shot prop night. He's been paying the bills for the past month now for a lot of people, averaging 18 minutes per game. Sam Bennett. I like the Cats too, man. I have some questions about goaltending. That's why I think we've seen a lot of offense in this series. That's why I think we'll continue to see a lot of offense, as it transitions over to the playoffs. But man, I'm with you. I am on Florida. And I think if you want to wait it out just a little bit more, as I mentioned, +18, +118, +120, I wouldn't be surprised this time tomorrow evening. It's plus 124, plus
I agree.
125. People are going to hammer the Bolts here. They're going to say, wow, Stanley Cup defending champs, Kucherov and Stamkos are coming back. Yeah, Vasilevsky, give me Tampa Bay. I think I don't even view it as that big of an upset. I think it's going to be a terrific.
I agree.
Matt, bring you in.
Clean sweep, boys. Clean sweep, Florida. I just think the biggest thing is if Kucherov had some time to play in the regular season towards the end of the season, or even Stamkos had a few more games at the end there, then I'd look at this differently. Vasilevsky is, the better goaltender, but Florida's offense is just much better at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Clean sweeps across the board. I'm surprised with that. I know Matt's a big Tampa guy. I thought he would jump on board with the Bolts. Yeah. Okay.
I like this. We're together, moving. Like our Friday parlays. Like we're in this together, boys. We're on the ship.
We are rolling. Okay, let's go. Let's go to the north. Montreal and Toronto. The Habs plus 225. The Leafs minus 290. The first matchup between these two teams in the playoffs since 1979. I said it on the show, Cam. You weren't here this week. These are things that happened in 1979. ESPN launched. Pink Floyd released the album The Wall. The Sony Walkman was introduced at $200 a pop.
Love
Average
it.
monthly cost of rent $280. Kramer versus Kramer, #1 movie. My Sharona the Knack, #1 song. The Supersonics win the NBA championship. The Pittsburgh Pirates win the World Series.
Wow.
And the Habs meet in the playoffs. Every time these two teams have met in the playoffs, the winner has gone on to win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, that's not happening this year.
That is not happening this year. But
yes.
Talk to me about why Craig Button thinks that the Leafs are going to sweep the Habs.
Here's the thing. The more I think about this, I think the Leafs win the series, but I'm finding a book that I could parlay series prices. I will parlay the Leafs with Carolina and get it to a number. Even for the series handicap, I'm not sure. The -1.5. That means the Leafs, they got to win in 5. I kind of was thinking that number 5 or 6, but I don't love it. You said it. The Montreal Canadiens haven't had a full deck when they've been playing these guys, and it's not going to be as easy for the Leafs. Matt Best will tell you, and I'll tell you, many heartbreaks before, collapses against the Bruins. They need to get off to a good start in the series, and they can't be screwing around. You got to win the game, and you got to dominate these guys, and you have to play 60 minutes of hockey. There's no breaking. There's no nothing. The history with these guys. As for Montreal, hey, Meaney, what's up with Gallagher? Is he going to be ready to roll or what? He's going to be back full strength. That's a huge addition. They're a totally different team without this guy. He's a pest. Perfect type of player for the playoffs. Who's going to be in net? You got to go with Allen, right?
I mean, maybe, but Price is ready.
Oh,
so
see, this is the thing. I hate to say this. I prefer Allen over Price. Am I in the minority? I don't know. I think Allen is good. Like I know he's not perfect, but I worry about Carey Price if you're a Montreal fan. I think the Leafs maybe in 6. I'm not even sure if I could take that -1.5 handicap.
Yeah, I get the Price concerns. He hasn't played hockey in over a month. He was dealing with a concussion. He has been practicing for the past few days. There's a couple of things to unravel here when it comes to the Canadiens, and I don't want to come across as a homer. I'm just spitting facts. So the fact is that they have played 25 games in 43 days. They haven't had more than one day off between all of those games over the past couple of months. Since that COVID hit, they had the 2 weeks off, and then they've scrambled. They've had 4 game weeks ever since. That's just not normal. In fact, that's the most games in NHL history, 25 in 43 to wrap up a season. That is crazy. Gallagher, Weber, and Price, they played with all 3 of those guys over the past 3 weeks and more. They're all going to be back and ready to go. I think Price is going to play. I think Allen has been better. He's looked tired lately, like the entire team has looked. But also got to keep in mind, Cam, that he had, a couple months off last year throughout the pause, didn't really play any hockey. And in the bubble, he was unbelievable, right? He was fantastic. He had 10 games played. He had a 1.78 goals against average and a .936 save percentage with 2 shutouts. And he upset the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round. So I think he's the guy. There could be some rust there. I think he is the game 1 starter. If anything, maybe Allen starts game 1 and then it is Price into game 2. The Habs just don't match up with Toronto. They don't match up well. They can't find a way to limit the damage when it comes to Marner or Matthews. They have no answer for those guys. They've had answers against Draisaitl and McDavid. I don't know what it is about Matthews and Marner. There's absolutely no answer for them at all. The Leafs won 7 of the 10. They outscored them 34-25. 5 of the 10 were decided by 1 goal. I think the Habs win a couple games in this series. I think the Leafs finally get over that hump. They get the playoff win. I love what you said. The series, like parlaying them and Carolina, if you can find a book, to get better odds, I think that's phenomenal. But one thing again with those games, all those games, Dom Ducharme, he hasn't had time into practice and to implement new systems for these guys. I know it's only practice, but that's a lot for a new coach. This team is going to be able to put together 4 practices in a row here before the playoffs, which is the first time all season that they're going to be able to do that. I know it's going to be a clean sweep as well, but Matt, I want you to bring you in before we wrap up the North and finish off with the rest of the 2.
Give me Toronto here, and I do think Carey Price starts game 1, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Allen starts it. It's only because Montreal, if they get a vintage or semi-vintage performance out of Carey Price, he can absolutely steal a game, but it's just we haven't really seen that this season. Like you said, though, Meaney, Montreal's had almost no answer for Matthews and Marner, and I think that is legitimately the deciding factor. Plus, Toronto brought in big bodies, guys that can bang around. Nick Foligno's a guy who, even in that game against Ottawa where they seemingly didn't care, he was still hurling his body around like a mother trucker, and that's the kind of playoff hockey that Toronto hasn't had over the past few seasons. And I think game 1, guy like Foligno, guy like Hyman, if he is in the lineup, will really set the tone. I don't think Leafs sweep. Give me Leafs in 6.
6.
Yeah, I think it's 6-2, and I'll tell you what, the Leafs better win that first game because you're going to start.
That's the thing. That's the thing, Meaney. You said it. Like, this is different. No team needs a start like Toronto does with their playoff history. It's that simple. You can't be screwing around, dicking around, and taking Montreal lightly. You got to make a statement the first game and win it. If not, there's going to be big problems. If not, it's going to go the distance, and I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal actually won because the Leafs will grip it too tight.
Yeah, I think the Habs are built for the playoffs, to be honest. I mean, we haven't seen the full squad together since that first month when we were talking about them being, a decent squad. So it's just recently, right? They're in the bottom 3 in goals for at 5-5 over the past 2 months. We haven't seen their full team together. Is it too late? Can they find chemistry together as a squad? It's been a long time. Heck, who knows? Like, the lines have been juggled up nonstop. The hitting thing is interesting. Montreal out hit them in that series 321 to 195. So I think it could be a physical series with Montreal trying to throw Toronto around a little bit. But yeah, they're going to be in tough. I think it goes 6. All right. So this final one, Winnipeg and Edmonton. Edmonton minus 184. The Jets plus 150. Edmonton won this season series 7-2. Outscored them 34-24. They reeled off the final 6 games in this series, outscoring them 21-9. Cam, the Jets have a league low 8 points since April 12th, the trade deadline, 4-10. I think they're going to get Nikolai Ehlers back. He's been practicing recently, but I'm just going to go with the hotter team that showed me a little bit more over the past 2 months, and that's the Oilers.
You know what, Meaney? I was thinking about this the whole time, and everyone's saying Oilers, 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 and the more I think about it, I'm like, is Winnipeg playing us for fools? They played like one good game in the last while. Look at their team, though, too, with Connor, if Ehlers comes back. Edmonton has a history of choking. Are they that much better? Maybe Hellebuck. Things get real with this guy in the playoffs. I'm sorry. That price for Edmonton, what is it, like $1.90? That's pretty high. I'm going to have to do something. We've agreed on every game, and I liked Edmonton the whole time. The more and more I think about it, I'm taking Winnipeg. Okay. I just think that price is just too. I think this game is the series. Edmonton's a little bit better than them, maybe a coin flip, but not 2-1 better. I have a problem with that number. I'm going to take a shot with the Jets. I don't love it. But you know what? We're betting on every series. It's not my favorite, but that's a significant price for a team that can win the series.
And that's my one concern, too. It makes me feel a little uneasy to put my money down on a team minus 190 like the Oilers. I mean, last year they were heavy favorites and couldn't even get by the Blackhawks. They definitely have issues defensively still, and they've gotten good goaltending from Mike Smith, but, I mean, he's a little bit older, right? So can he out-duel Hellebuck? I think it's going to be an interesting series. But like I said, I mean, the Jets, maybe they are fooling us. Maybe they really are, because they have been the worst team in the league now over the past 5 weeks, and they're not scoring any goals. But got to remember, they've been away. Ehlers has been away from that team. So that's one that we're different on, but I think we're kind of on the same page in just terms of just it's a lot to lay on an Oilers team that just has 2 of the best players in the league, right? And they
exactly
still have on their squad too. And again, come playoffs, like the number 1 power play in the NHL, it doesn't get you anywhere really come playoff time. They had the number 1 power play in the NHL last year, and they couldn't find a way to get in. You're not getting 5 or 6 power
exactly. I just think the Jets are not as bad as they've been playing. It's kind of like they're just stumbling, and I could see this team just waking up in the playoffs with the guys that they have on their team. I know that's a lot to ask, but that's the way I feel.
So what do we do with these last two series? We assume that
Yeah.
Colorado wins tonight against LA. If that happens and they win the division, they win the President's Trophy, and then they play the Blues. They're 5-3 against the Blues this season. They've outscored them 26-18. And then you have Minnesota and Vegas, and Minnesota won 5 of 8 against the Golden Knights. The 24-24. The goals were even in that series. A couple overtime games, a couple shootout games in there as well. 5 or fewer in 4 of the 8. So it was tight checking. Let's just start with Colorado and St. Louis. What do you think?
Colorado is going to be a huge favorite. I won't like the number.
Favorite.
I think St. Louis is a dangerous team. They're playing better since Parayko's come back. They're a totally different team. Oh, Meaney, but Colorado, like they're good. Colorado. It needs to be parlayed though, or something. Like you can't lay the juice that it's going to be in the series. You have to find a way to knock it down. Like, what do you think? Do you think that? Like, I think the Blues could win. I like they could, but Colorado's got to step up. Like they're a better team.
Yeah, they are a better team. I mean, some of the games too, they beat them 8-0 in one game. St. Louis has won the past couple, so they've turned it around a little bit. But Colorado has also had some injuries over that span too. Like McKinnon didn't play last night.
Yep.
He's been banged up. He's not going to go in 100%. A couple guys have been on COVID. Grubauer's been in and out of the lineup. I just think that they're the better team overall. I think
Comfer's heating up too.
Comfer's heating up. Yeah, it seems to be right now. They just seem to be getting contributions from up and down their lineup. I just think that they're ready to make a run. It's going to be really tough for them in this series and the next. If they get by the Blues, it's going to be really, really tough for them to get through. It's a tough road. But I just think that they've owned the puck. There's been so many question marks with St. Louis. Can they flip that switch? There's just a couple years removed from winning that Stanley Cup, but I just think they have a lot of inexperience on their bottom two lines, and then their fifth and sixth defense. I just don't think that they'll be able to keep up with the speed that Colorado has and the possession that they mostly have throughout majority of their games. So I gotta lean with the Avs, but you're right. I mean, what are we guessing here? That they're going to be minus 330, 300? I think.
Yeah, like high, like 290, 300. I think will be close to 3-1. Yeah. What about? I think Minnesota has a better chance to be like. I don't know what it is. Take a look at the way Minnesota plays Vegas. Meaning it's hard to bet. Like I'm taking Minnesota in the series, but they have the type of players and team that I think matches up better against Vegas, even than St. Louis does against Colorado. But I worry about the goaltending. Like Vegas has a significant goaltending edge with Fleury and Leonard, right? Like Cam Talbot, like it's been a nice story, but really like there's a lot to like about Minnesota, but I'm really like, if they had better goaltending, I would take them, like smash them as a big underdog in this series and feel good about it. I think it goes the distance though.
I think it goes to the distance too. Yeah, we haven't been talking too much about that, but Florida Tampa, I think, goes 7. This series, I think, goes 7 as well. I think Colorado takes care of St. Louis in 6. But yeah, this one it's been very entertaining. I mean, Minnesota lost the first 2 in this series, but they went on to win the next 5, and then they lost 3-2 in overtime. The 2 of the 3 losses that they had to Vegas were in overtime. So they've picked up points in 7 of the 8. They have hung tight with Vegas. I think that this is a potential upset. I really do. As much as I like the Golden Knights, how healthy is Pacioretty? That's a big question for me. Can Riley Smith get going on that second line? He showed up lately over the past week and a half. They need him. Last year in the postseason, they didn't have that second line clicking with Marchessault and Smith and Carlson. They need those guys to get going. Minnie's defense is solid, man. They don't give up a whole lot. They are very, very tight defensively. I think this is going to be a tight series, low scoring. Man,
I want to take Minnesota. I want to take Minnesota.
I'm leaning with Vegas in 7, but if you can get anywhere like 7, like this for the series to go the distance,
I agree. We bet the spread differential. Like we're going to get Minnesota plus 1.5, probably plus money too, or not a lot of juice.
Not a lot.
That's why I think we got to roll with the plus 1.5. I think it goes 7.
Yeah. Since the deadline, Vegas 13-3, 26 points atop the NHL. Minnesota just right behind them, 24 points, 11-2-2. So those 3 losses against for Vegas have all been to Minnesota. They've had one against Colorado, rather. They've been beating everybody, but they struggle inside this division because it's super tight. Okay, we'll get you out of here on this, Cam. So the Avs favored to win the cup here, looking at DK plus 450, Golden Knights 550, Leafs 6-1, Canes 7-1, Bolts 8-1, Boston 10-1, Pens 13-1, Florida 14-1. You can get that at 22-1 in some spots.
Wow.
FTN bets. You go over there. It's the free parlay calculator. I just know I looked at it last night. It's still 22-1 in some spots. The Caps 17-1 and the Oilers 20-1. Who wins the cup, man?
The Carolina Hurricanes. Am I crazy?
No, you're not.
Carolina versus Colorado. Carolina in 7. Sleeper teams. I would take either units on Florida. I think Florida's a really good pooch. Or what do you think about the Penguins? Like if you're going to throw like those numbers they're too big for me.
Yeah.
Go to the East. If Carolina, like those are teams that I like Carolina. I like Colorado. That's my Stanley Cup final.
Right. Those are the teams for me too. I coming into the season, I had Vegas and Carolina, but I've kind of changed my tune. I don't like the Minnesota matchup. I'm worried about it. I've been worried about Vegas here for the past couple of weeks. Maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit too much. Man, we have the same finals. That's not cool. It's kind of lame.
Yeah, it is pretty lame.
It's kind of lame.
It's pretty cool, actually.
It's kind of cool. I guess we're on the same page. I mean, Colorado, a lot of people are going to be on Colorado or Vegas to come out, and I have futures on both of those teams, and I guess I'll lose one, but at the same time, one of those teams I think will be 4 wins away from going to the Stanley Cup Finals. I like Carolina's path. I think that they're just ready. I really want it to be Nedeljkovic. But those are the teams. I think if, as much as I'm talking up Carolina, I think that sleeper team for me is Florida.
Yes.
And again, if you go over to the free parlay calculator, you can get them at 20-1, 22-1 in some spots. That's the sleeper. Matt, on the way out, we only got about a minute, man. Is there a long shot odd, or who do you like to meet up?
My sleeper, this is so lame. We're all the same. Give me Florida. And boys, I gotta do it. Give me the Leafs to win the cup. No. If I don't actually pick the Leafs, I really like Pittsburgh this year.
I agree with you. I think Pittsburgh's scary as hell too. Like that's the thing. I'm having a real problem with the East because I love Carolina, and I think Florida and Pittsburgh are live as hell. Like they're very dangerous teams.
I like Pittsburgh too, but I think I lean Boston over them. I think I lean the Bruins over Pittsburgh. But yeah, one of the two
Leafs to win the cup. I love that.
If it happens, I am clipping this.
Oh, if it happens, we're going to party, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, you could have clipped the last 5 years from Leafs Nation saying it. It's the same thing over and over again.
This is the first year we've had a show, so I'm just going to go with that.
Oh, man. What a blast, guys. Okay. We got to wrap it up. Both of us, all three of us here, we got to get out of here. But Cam, hopefully you and I can hook up again throughout the playoffs. Always a pleasure. Love it. And the picks are going to be flying over at ftmbets.com. Use that promo code Meaney. We got a brand new price over there, so it's a lot cheaper than if you looked yesterday. So check it out, ftmbets.com. Use that promo code Meaney. For Matty Best picking the Leafs, shout out. Locked out Predators.
Locked on
Predators. Oh, I thought it was locked on Predators. Yeah. Holy jeez, what a show.
Let's go Cats. Talk to you soon. Cheers.